In this lesson, we will learn about the PDC Emulator function related to group policy management. First of all, we will learn about group policy object components, then about the replications of group policy object components. And after that, we will analyze group policy replication activities. And finally, we sum up the lesson with the keynotes. As you may know, Windows Active Directory group policy contains two components. The first component is the group policy template, contains user and computer settings along with script files, which are stored in Windows file systems at C Windows sysfo, and then domain name and policies. The second component is the group policy container stored in Active Directory database. Group policy container contains properties of all group policy objects which allow Active Directory to allocate group policy templates to apply the settings to Active Directory objects included in the scope of the policies. When a group policy object is created on a DC, its components will be replicated to all other DCs in the domain. As you may figure it out, the group policy container is replicated using Active Directory replication, and the group policy template is replicated by the distributed file system replication. The policy settings from the group policy only take effect on the destination DCs when the group policy container and the group policy template are synchronized with the source DCs. Let's analyze replication activity when creating a new group policy objects on LHPVDC03. After the group policy object is created, we will check the group policy template and the group policy container replication from LHPVDC03 to GPVDC11 and OPVDC01. Before going into the detail, let's verify the operation master role holders in our AD domain hq.it/liveskills.local by running this command. As you can see, currently our PVDC01 is assigned with the PDC Emulator related ID pool manager infrastructure master roles of the domain hq.it/liveskills.local. Now let's open Active Directory, Sites and Services. As you can see, we have three sites, Aurora, Chicago, and Elgin, and we have two site links. The first one is Chicago to Aurora, and the second one is Chicago to Elgin. Now let's open the first site link, Chicago to Aurora. As you can see, this site link contains two sites, Aurora and Chicago, and it configured to replicate every 3 hours, which means any change in these two sites will be replicated every 3 hours. Now let's close this and open the second site link. And as you can see, this site link is to replicate between Chicago and Elgin, which means the Chicago is a hub site and is also configured to replicate every 3 hours. Now let's close this. Let's check the content of the policy folder to see how many group policy templates are there on each domain controller. To do that, we just need to run this script. As you can see, currently there are two group policy templates on each domain controller. Let's create a new group policy object by selecting the line number 10 and run the command. As you can see, the command created a new group policy with the name IT Life Skills Computer Settings, and it created the objects on the domain controller LHPVDC03. Let's take note the group policy ID for our verification. Let's now verify the content of the policy folder on each domain controller to see if the group policy template of the new group policy IT Life Skills Computer Settings has been created on the domain controller LHPVDC03 and replicated to all other domain controllers in the domain. To do that, we just need to rerun this script. As you can see, currently there are 3 group policy templates in the policy folder of the domain controller LHPVDC03, and here is the group policy ID of the new policy IT Life Skills Computer Settings, and it has been replicated to OPVDC01 and GPVDC11, which means the group policy template is replicated immediately to other domain controllers by the distributed file system replication, and the replication is not controlled by the AD site replication schedule. Let's now verify the group policy container of the new policy IT Life Skills Computer Settings to see if it is created on the domain controller LHPVDC03. To do that, we need to open Active Directory Users and Computers. To view the group policy container, we need to click on the View and select Advanced Features. Here we expand System Container and click on the Policies container. As you can see, there are 3 group policy containers on the domain controller LHPVDC03, and this is the ID of the new policy IT Life Skills Computer Settings, which means the policy now takes effect on the domain controller LHPVDC03. Let's now switch to the domain controller OPVDC01, and we also expand the system container and then click on the policies container. As you can see, the group policy container of the new policy has not been replicated to OPVDC01 because the group policy container replication is controlled by the site replication schedule that is currently set to every 3 hours. Therefore, the policy IT Life Skills Computer Settings will not take effect on OPVDC01 until its group policy container is synchronized. Let's switch to the domain controller GPVDC11, and we also open the policy container. As you can see, the group policy container of the new policy has not been replicated to GPVDC11 either, which means the policy IT Life Skills Computer Settings will not take effect on GPVDC11 until its group policy container is replicated to GPVDC11 via Active Directory replication within next 3 hours. Let's verify the group policy IT Life Skills Computer Settings only exists on LHPVDC03 for now and does not exist on GPVDC11 and OPVDC01 until the replication of its group policy container complete. To do that, we need to open Group Policy Management Console. As you can see, the Group Policy Management Console automatically selects our PVDC01 because it is the PDC emulator of the domain, which means we are viewing the group policies on our PVDC01 now. Let's expand the domain hq.it/skills.local and click on Group Policy Objects. As you can see, the IT Skills computer settings does not exist on our PVDC01. Let's switch to the domain controller GPVDC11. And for the change to take effect, we need to close and reopen the Group Policy Management Console. Now we are viewing the group policies on the domain controller GPVDC11. Let's open the group policy objects. As you can see, the new policy IT Life Skills computer settings does not exist on GPVDC11 because its group policy container has not been replicated to GPVDC11. Let's switch to the domain controller LHPVDC03, and for the change to take effect, we also need to close and reopen the Group Policy Management Console. As you can see, we are viewing the group policy on the domain controller LHPVDC03 now. Let's open the group policy objects. As you can see, the new policy IT Life Skills computer settings exists on LHPVDC03 because we created the policy on this domain controller. The policy will eventually shows up and takes effect on GPVDC11 and OPVDC01 when the replication of its group policy container completes. Now we know that the Group Policy Management Console on all DCs automatically selects the PDC Emulator as the default domain controller to create or edit group policy objects in the domain. So in the root domain it-skills.local, when we logged into GPVDC01 or GPVDC02 and open the Group Policy Management Console, we always view the policies on GPVDC01 because it is the PDC emulator. Therefore, when we create or edit group policies, the change will happen on GPVDC01 and its group policy templates will be replicated to GPVDC02 immediately via distributed file system replication. However, the group policy container will be replicated from GPVDC01 to GPVDC02 based on the site replication schedule. Similarly, in the child domain hq.it/skills.local, when we log into OPVDC01, GPVDC11, or LHPVDC03 and open the Group Policy Management Console, we always view the policies on OPVDC01 because it is a PDC emulator. When a policy is created by Group Policy Management Console, the change will happen on OPVDC01 and its group policy templates will be replicated to LHPVDC03 and GPVDC11 by the distributed file system replication. However, the group policy container will be replicated to GPVDC11, and then from GPDC11, it is replicated to LHPVDC03 because of the side replication configuration, and the replication schedule between XI is every 3 hours. As you can easily recognize by making the PDC emulator as the default domain controller to create or edit group policy objects in the domain will allows us to have common view on group policy objects and avoid the potential conflicts by creating two policies with the same name on different domain controllers. However, this feature may cause the delay on how soon a new group policy will take effect on a certain domain controller because the replication of the group policy container is controlled by the site configuration and schedule. The good news is Group Policy Management Console allows to change to different domain controller to create or edit group policy objects to best fit your environment. For example, if we have 2,000 employees on Elgin site with 100 group policies created and updated, and about 10 employees on Aurora site and have no user on Chicago site because it is a data center. As you can see with the current configurations, it may take up to 6 hours for a new policy or a change in an existing policy to take effect on LHPVDC03. To solve this issue, we either have to move the PDC emulator role to LHPVDC03 or switch to LPVDC03 in the Group Policy Management Console to create or edit group policies. This is the end of this lesson. Let's read the keynotes.